My name is Peter Dembicki. I'm president and CEO of Tier 1 Silver. Given that we only have 10 minutes, I really wanted to emphasize what Tier 1 is about in a short period of time that really gets the message across. And it's not always easy reading off of these decks, and mining isn't always the most sexy thing to talk about, but Tier 1 is truly at this inflection point, the one that exploration companies get really excited about, and that's the moment right before you make that world-class discovery. And that's really where Tier 1 is at right now. We're fortunate enough to be here in and amongst some really high-quality companies, some of which have had the opportunity to have that discovery hole, the opportunity to have that massive hit, and the shareholders of those companies that have the euphoric, 10x, 20x, whatever they made on their investment. And now those companies are working on proving out their model and proving out their asset. So you have Tier 1 at this amazing point of which is pre-discovery. It is putting its very first drill holes into the ground of a 20 square kilometer bonanza grade surface footprint in southern Peru. If I haven't already made some forward-looking statements, those are done now. So really, anytime you're entering into this sector of investing into exploration companies, it's really a big bet on people. And to having a leadership and trust of those who know they can make the discovery, and not only make a discovery, but know what to do with it and know how to handle it. With our team and our founders, Sean Wallace and Ivan Bebic, well, they've been through it more than once. They've had a couple exits in the public markets, and they know how to handle discovery, and they have the Rolodex and people in the industry to know what to do with it. So a brief overview of how we came to be. Well, Tier 1 was a spin out of its parent company, Auryn Resources, last October, as we were approaching 12 months from that. It spin out into 3 separate companies. Fury Gold Mines, which hosts all the Canadian assets in Canada. Sombrero Resources, which is a large copper play, which we're hoping to hear from more in the next few months. And then there's Tier 1 Silver, which we're here to talk about today, which is an aggressive exploration company with assets based in Peru. Again, not to belabor the management too much, but the leadership is second to none. We have directors and technical team that we rely on extremely heavily. Michael Henriksen, Dave Smithson, both formerly of Newmont, really employing all the expertise they learned from Newmont and bringing it to an exploration company. Christian Rios on the ground in Peru, many silver discoveries under his belt. And I want to bring one person to note, if I get this, is Antonio Rivas, former chief geologist of Newmont Global and former head of geosciences for BHP Global. So anytime you can get the best in the world to be looking at your projects, to be vetting them for you, you go ahead and do it. Again, our technical team is second to none. We're so fortunate enough to have them. The reason we like and love to talk about our projects and we're so confident in our work is because of the work our technical team does. It really does start from the top down. Secondly, anytime you're investing in an exploration project, man, the project has to be good as well. You can't just sell an empty shoebox. And in this case, we have 2 very high-grade flagship projects in Hurricane Silver and Curibaya. Curibaya is the one we're going to start off at the moment, located right at the south of Peru, in and amongst one of the very prolific copper belt, surrounded by some of the largest producing mines in the world. Cerro Verde, Cajone, Tocopala, Quellaveco, all directly to our north. Tocopala is even within 40 kilometers. We are located about an hour-and-a-half drive from the city of Tacna, right near the border of Chile. We had the opportunity to age date our project and our rock, and it came back the exact same age, 57 million years ago in the Paleocene era, which really proves the point of the geological event that occurred that time ago produced what we're sitting on at Curibaya today. So since we staked our ground over 16,000 hectares and we own outright 100%, the majors have come back in a major way. They've been shedding their property for years when the prices of copper and gold were a little bit depressed. But since we've kind of put our stakes in the ground, they've been surrounding and picking us up quite rapidly. As you can see here, I'll point out one thing where my cursor is. That's Tocopala. That's one of the largest open pit mines in Peru, 40 kilometers to our north. And just to give you a size and sense of the scale of what we have at Curibaya is over 16,000 hectares of 100% owned land, which we're currently in our infancy of. So you couldn't imagine being any more excited about such a boring slide. But this one really was one that made us and gave us that confidence to take the next step with Curubaya as a project. Anytime you can have returns of over 300,000 grams per ton silver and close to a kilo gold, this is a 500 gram per ton cutoff on silver and 2 gram gold that really ranged over a 20 square kilometer footprint. Well, it's never been seen before. It was unheard of, and which is why we have this kind of global recognition, and a lot of eyes in the world are watching us to see what we possibly have discovered here. So when we look at where these samples occurred in our 20 square kilometer footprint, they occurred from border to border on all ways. The exciting part about Curubaya is this is less than a quarter of our total land package of 16,000 hectares that we're currently working on right now. So what we see here in the stars and on the legend are our top gold, top silver hits, and they're all occurring over a very concentrated area. So once we got more geophysics in the bank and we started really working on this property, we started with the trenching and the channel sampling. And again, to come out with 2 meters of 630, 6 meters of 400, 8 meters of 243, to name a few, and a couple, bonanza 12 meters of 2, and some larger plus kilo intercepts of 2 meters of 1.2 kilos. You're going to want to see what's underground and what you found. So over the winter, we received our drill permit, which is an accomplishment in its own in Peru, and we got drilling. So just to identify our major feeders that we have discovered here, we have put 5 or 6 identified feeder structures that we're going to be drilling directly under as we speak as well. So on the left-hand side here, I won't belabor it too much, but we had our first drill hole in. We had a lovely chargeability anomaly that we wanted to test, so we put a 600-meter hole down the ground. And really what that hole was about was, is there something underground, or is it going to come out something that looks like your sidewalk in your local town? And sure enough, overwhelmingly, yes, there is a system present. So we were excited because it kind of gave us that confidence to take the next steps. Now, we didn't cross a major structure. We got a lot of smoke. We didn't hit it. But as we were drilling that first hole, we got a lot of data come back to tell us all these trenching results came in. So we flipped the script, we pivoted slightly, and we said we're going to drill directly across these feeder structures that we've identified on surface, which is what we've seen here in holes 4, 5, and 6 that we're currently drilling right now under 6 meters of 400 and 4 meters of 189 or 190. So again, we're drilling for grade, we're drilling for structure. The biggest hurdle that we have in Peru at the moment is the assay lab turnaround times. The only way to really combat that is to drill more holes. And so we're going to do shallower holes, shorter holes. We're going to get as many holes into the lab as possible so we have enough results coming in throughout the fall and throughout the winter. So really, I had a chance to visit Curubaya at the beginning of August, and it truly felt like I was on the moon. This property just kept going. You're in the Atacama Desert, the foothills of the Andes. It kept going. Our footprint was huge. Geologists would come in from the field every day and feel like kids in a toy store. They didn't know what aisle to go down because every aisle they went down, there was something that they wanted. And it's ever expanding. To this day, we have 35 trenches in the lab still to come and hundreds of rock samples to accompany that. But it wasn't really like the moon, because actually if there was something to ever occur at Curubaya as far as a mine, it's very positive towards hosting that. We are only an hour-and-a-half drive of the city of Tacna. It's 300,000 people with an international airport. We have Power Electric just to our north. We have 2 deep water ports that service those major giants that I've mentioned before, and altitude is very doable, 1,500 meters. So it's, as far as a geologist is concerned, that's sea level. So it really feels like everything is aligning correctly for Curubaya, and this is our flagship project because we do have the drill holes turning. So again, I mentioned with Curubaya, the community is such a key part of this. Anytime that you can find a project that doesn't have any residents on it, there's no agriculture, there's no archaeology, and elevation is intact, it is a perfect instance for mining. So again, the address of Curubaya, you're in and amongst the giants on a prolific copper belt. in southern Peru. People have been looking over this area for years, predominantly looking for copper. So we truly feel we have the first precious metals epithermal system sitting on top of a potential porphyry. The scale continues to get bigger, and the strength, the grade speaks for itself. Our second flagship that I'm going to touch on briefly, something that we've been working on for probably a year and a half of acquiring. This was actually intended to be one of the flagships of Tier 1 Silver, but just took us a long time to finally get it. And we announced last week that we finally got access to it. So this is huge. This comes from a group called Pembroke, Dan Innes, formerly of Newmont. So our geologists, Dave and Michael, who are both formerly of Newmont, had a lot of confidence in the work that had been done to date and the project data. And so it pretty much fast forwarded all the exploration that we were going to take 2 years to get done. We got it done. We finally got access, which is a huge monument in this area of Peru, to allow us to get geologists. So as we speak, we have geologists working on the project as well. Some stream sediment data that came out of the project. You know, this is it was off the scales as far as our geologists were concerned, as far as quality, and the grades show for it themselves. You know, here we go, more plus kilos everywhere you look, and some of the chip and channel sampling that we occurred over this time, again, are plus kilo, near to kilo over some good widths, including 100 grams over 14 meters. So we got to get geologists in there. We got to start cracking, got to get working, get some results back for shareholders. And over the next 12 months, really prove it out and get towards that kind of drill ready kind of targeting. So as I mentioned, we spun out of our parent company, Auryn, back in October. Every shareholder of Auryn received a share of Tier 1 Silver. We did a short top-up of financing last March for $13.5 million at $1 Canadian, no warrants. And we finally got the company listed in June, not too long ago, actually. So it's been a quick ride for Tier 1 shareholders, patient ride for a lot of the Auryn shareholders to see this spin out fully completed. We have a robust treasury. We're in no rush to raise any money. You know, we're fortunate enough to have timed that really well. So again, you know, if you're really looking for an investment that's on the verge of making these world-class discoveries, we're not trying to revive an old project, and we're not stuck on a trend with 20 other neighbors. This is, you know, setting us apart from every other exploration company out there. It is world-class. It's in the greatest address we can find. We have to follow grade, of which we have, and we have the technical team and the management team to lead us and to truly create a couple potential world-class discoveries. So a lot of majors are watching us right now. We have 4 or 5 drill holes in the lab awaiting on those results. As I mentioned, 35 more trenches coming from within our 20 square kilometer footprint and beyond. And we have big ambitions. We have huge ambitions for Curibaya. We have huge ambitions for Hurricane. And in the new year, we plan on flying a big survey over both properties to really prove out additional targets. And that is it. Thank you.